George Jones and the Jones Boys were once suspects in a high-profile murder case. On November 6, 1965, Jacqueline Young's lifeless body would be found outside of LaPorte, Texas. George Jones and the Jones Boys were some of the last people to see Jackie Young alive. On June 20th, 1959, Jacqueline Young had married country performer and radio disc jockey Texas Bill Strength. By the fall of 1959, the marriage was already falling apart and the two had separated, inspiring the song, "Excuse Me, I Think I've Got a Heartache."
Excuse me, I think I've got a heartache. There's an aching deep inside, and it just won't be denied.
Jackie Young had worked as the secretary in the steel industry, but she had also worked as the secretary for George Jones's fan club. Jackie had had high aspirations, wanting to become a country performer herself. Being married to Texas Bill Strength, being the secretary of George Jones's fan club, she was surrounded by high-profile individuals all the time. And of course, being the secretary of George Jones's fan club, Jackie would go to a lot of George Jones shows. But that was one of the last decisions Jackie would ever make. The night she was killed, she would go to see George Jones and the Jones Boys perform. She would also go onto the tour bus and talk to George and the entire band. Because they were the last people to see Jackie alive, they were all questioned, but they were later released. George Jones chronicled this event in his book, I Live to Tell It All. The officer asked if I remembered seeing Jacqueline Young Friday night. I called her Jackie, and of course I remembered. She was the secretary of my fan club and had come onto the van to ask me about different words for a Christmas card that she wanted to send to fan club members. She had been drinking and taking pills, and when she got on the van, we were alone, and then she passed out. I didn't want to wake her up. I went from the van to the stage and did my show. When I returned, she was gone. The police told Jones that he was the last person to see Jackie alive. Jones said, "Alive? What do you mean?" It turns out a few hours after I left her, Jacqueline Stanford Young, age 25, was found dead inside of her car, parked in an open field on Highway 146, 4 miles from where she'd been last seen with me. She'd been beaten with a tire iron, but a coroner later ruled that she had died from manual strangulation. Someone had taken his bare hands after beating her senseless and choked the life out of her gasping body. She probably died looking straight into the eyes of the killer, and I was the primary suspect. It was later found out that the tire iron used to beat Jackie came from her own vehicle. On December 11th, 1965, Texas Bill Strength, Jackie's estranged husband, had gone to Houston to work with the police to figure out what had happened to his wife. The police had told Texas Bill Strength that George Jones was not the culprit, that what had happened is Jackie had pulled off to get some gas, the gas station attendant had forced himself upon her, they had driven out into this field where he beat and killed her. Jackie and Texas Bill Strength were set to remarry February 20th, 1966. On June 6th, 1966, 21-year-old Victor Eugene Miller was arrested for the murder of Jackie Young. After a heap of postponements, the trial was finally set for June 5th, 1967. Yet again, the trial had been postponed, this time to August of 1967. On September 1st, 1967, Victor was found guilty. Even though Victor had admitted to the press prior that he had done it, the jury wasn't convinced. They decided that there was enough reasonable doubt they couldn't give him the death penalty, but he could serve life. When he was asked about all of this, he said, "One day I'll find justice. After all, she was last seen in the wagon of a country music singer." As for George Jones, this would go on to haunt him. He said, "Updates on the story were published for days. On many occasions when a story appeared about a development in the case, it mentioned again that the woman had last been seen with me only hours before her death. One headline in another newspaper accused me of knowing more than I was telling investigators. The fact is, the band and I knew nothing, and we were cooperating fully." Jones did say that a member of his band struggled with the polygraph test, saying he couldn't settle down during the test, and the first time it was given, he was implicated. I think he failed it a second time too, and an investigator told me he was sure that the guy was guilty. I knew him to be a pretty nervous person, and the other Jones boys and I urged him to relax during the test. When he finally did, he was cleared. We didn't get to talk about Texas Bill Strength a whole lot in this video, but he has an interesting story on his own. Story that deals with abductions, being shot, an unfortunate accident that would take his life, and so very much more. If you're interested in hearing that story, let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and thank you so much for watching.
There was a time when I felt blue. I lost the only love I knew. Grin and bear it, I'd always say, let the chips fall where they may. I used to worry about growing old, death and taxes and saving gold, but now I live from day to day. Let the chips fall where they may. Oh, let the chips fall where they may. I don't worry, it doesn't pay. I'll just go on my merry way. Let the chips fall